Terrence Ruffin built his whole career on the classic vacuum pose, standing for everything that division was meant to celebrate. In 2024, fresh off a brutal injury layoff and family sacrifices, he should have claimed the ultimate prize. But with millions watching, politics crept in, leaving Ruffin, once the living blueprint of classic physique, shut out by criteria that kept shifting. The judges crowned someone else. The scorecards left hidden, and a legacy was rewritten not by muscle or artistry, but by unseen hands. The Vacuum Wars. How Terrence Ruffin lost classic to politics isn't just about a trophy, it's about what happens when the rules change after the game is played. So, how did it all unravel? March 1st, 2024. The Arnold Classic stage in Columbus, Ohio glowed under the spotlights, but Terrence Ruffin was nowhere in the final lineup. Just 2 years earlier, he had claimed back-to-back Arnold Classic physique titles, cementing his reputation as the man who brought the vacuum pose roaring back to the mainstream. Now, his absence was as loud as any victory speech. For months leading up to the contest, Ruffin's social media hinted at a grueling rehab, bandaged knees, slow, methodical posing, the kind of training that tests patience more than muscle. He had openly set his sights on reaching the 187-pound cap for his 5'7" frame, a number he had never quite hit on stage. The plan was simple: come back fuller, denser, and silence the critics who said he couldn't match the mass of taller rivals. Family footage showed him at home, wife by his side, both eyes on the prize. Every meal, every stretch, every early morning cardio session was a shared sacrifice. When Wesley Visser's name was called for first place and Ramon Queiroz accepted runner-up, Ruffin watched from the sidelines, his phone buzzing with messages from fans and friends. The missing man in the lineup had become the story. In the crowd, his wife's reaction said it all. A mixture of pride and frustration, a silent promise that this wasn't the end. Behind the scenes, Ruffin's focus stayed locked on a single goal: return to the stage, max out the weight cap, and prove that classic physique still meant more than just size. For now, the trophy belonged to someone else, but the hunger and the questions were only growing. Classic physique arrived on the IFBB Pro League scene in 2016, pitched as a return to the golden age, a time when lines, symmetry, and artistry ruled the stage. The division set itself apart from the mass monsters of open bodybuilding, promising a spotlight for athletes who could channel the spirit of Frank Zane, Serge Nubret, and Arnold's vacuum pose. For Terrence Ruffin, the fit was almost uncanny. Raised in Alabama, Ruffin's story began with a set of hand-me-down weights and a stubborn work ethic honed in tough surroundings. Early mornings in the gym weren't just about building muscle, they were about building a way out. By the time he joined the Air Force, the military's strict routine suited him perfectly. Every day demanded discipline, precision, and a focus on small details, traits that would later define his approach to posing and presentation. Ruffin's signature vacuum pose wasn't just a nod to the past. It was a statement of intent. In an era of swelling physiques, he made his mark by mastering the art of pulling his midsection razor tight, creating the illusion of width and flow. The vacuum became more than a pose. It was his identity, a calling card that judges and fans alike couldn't ignore. When the division first opened, Ruffin stood out not for sheer size, but for his ability to embody the original vision: classic lines, balance, and a stage presence that felt timeless. While most competitors chased the upper limits of their weight caps, Ruffin's focus stayed locked on proportion and shape. His military background shaped his entire approach. Methodical, uncomplaining, always refining. Coaches and family remember a young man who never blamed the system, even after tough calls, but instead doubled down on the process. Classic physique was built for athletes like Ruffin, not the biggest, but the most complete. In a sport where trends shift and judges debate what classic really means, Ruffin's blend of discipline and artistry made him the living blueprint of what the division was supposed to be. Classic physique judging isn't a simple numbers game. The official IFBB rulebook breaks down scoring into a 40-40-20 split. 40% for symmetry and proportion, 40% for muscularity and conditioning, and the final 20% for stage presentation and that elusive classic aesthetic, often embodied by the vacuum pose. On paper, it's a formula designed to reward balance over brute size. In practice, it leaves plenty of room for interpretation. Each judge brings a personal eye to the lineup, and those eyes don't always see the same thing. One judge's perfect symmetry is another's lack of density. Conditioning, the sharpness and separation of muscle, is supposed to be objective, but contest after contest, the notes tell a different story. Ruffin's win at the Tampa Pro was credited to unmatched conditioning, yet just weeks later at the Olympia, with nearly identical form, he was marked down for conditioning that fell slightly behind the favorite. The same physique, two different verdicts. Scorecards themselves add another wrinkle. In panels of 7 or more, the highest and lowest scores are tossed out, a safeguard meant to curb bias. But the final tallies released to the public rarely show the full picture. Round-by-round breakdowns and judge-by-judge notes are kept behind closed doors. That means the margin between first and second, a single point, sometimes less, can hinge on a single judge's interpretation of what classic should look like. For Ruffin, whose physique lands squarely in the original vision for the division, this built-in flexibility works both ways. It allows a master of lines and posing to shine on some stages, yet leaves him vulnerable to shifting standards and the personal tastes of whoever sits on the panel that night. The rulebook promises clarity, but on the scorecards, the lines are anything but clear. Tampa, 2019. Terrence Ruffin stands dead center in the first call-out, flanked by taller rivals, his coach tense at the edge of the pit. In classic physique, center stage isn't just a spot, it's a signal. Judges move competitors like chess pieces, but Ruffin's placement that night leaves little doubt. He clinches the win, and the post-show handshake between athletes is more than routine. It's respect earned in real time, but the pattern doesn't always hold. At the Olympia just weeks later, Ruffin finds himself edged out of the middle, despite bringing a look nearly identical to his Tampa showing. His coach's body language says it all. Arms crossed, jaw set, a quick glance toward the judges. The message is clear. Something has changed. Height tells part of the story. Ruffin, at 5 feet 7 inches, faces off against Chris Bumstead, who towers at 6 feet 1 inch and carries nearly 50 pounds more muscle. The visual impact is immediate. Judges and commentators talk about classic lines, but the numbers reveal a different contest. In every major show from 2019 to 23, athletes above 5 feet 10 inches dominate the top spots, even when conditioning and symmetry are close. The scorecards don't explain it, but the trend is impossible to ignore. Offstage, market forces play their own role. Bumstead's social media following explodes past 10 million, dwarfing Ruffin's 700,000. Sponsorship deals follow, and with them, the business of bodybuilding. Promoters call these men ambassadors for a reason. Winning isn't just about physique. It's about who can sell the sport to the world. On smaller stages, Ruffin's artistry shines, but under the biggest lights, the center spot seems reserved for those who fit both the aesthetic and the market profile. March 2024 brought a result that sent shockwaves through classic physique. Wesley Vissers, a name rarely mentioned in the same breath as perennial favorites, stood atop the Arnold Classic podium. His victory over Ramon Quiroz, last year's champion, left analysts scrambling for explanations. For years, the division's top spots had been dominated by taller, denser athletes, but this time, judges placed clear value on shape and symmetry. Visser's lines, tight midsection, and flowing transitions drew praise from commentators and fans alike. While the official scorecards for the event remained unpublished, the buzz backstage and across bodybuilding media pointed to a recalibration. The message was unmistakable. Aesthetics and proportion were back in the conversation, and for once, the spotlight seemed to favor a physique built on classic ideals rather than sheer size. Classic physique has never stood still for long. With every new champion, the definition of classic seems to shift, oscillating between the razor lines of a vacuum pose and the sweeping density of a taller frame. Experts predict the pendulum will keep swinging as judges and promoters weigh artistry against market appeal. Athletes and fans alike are now calling for more transparency. The demand is simple. Publish full scorecards, round by round, and let the public see how decisions are made. Without open records, every close call sparks another debate. The next evolution of the sport may not come from a new pose or physique, but from a willingness to show the process behind the placings. For classic physique to thrive, clarity must become as valued as conditioning or symmetry. At the 2024 Arnold Classic, official records confirm that Wesley Vissers, not Terrence Ruffin, took the Classic Physique title, despite Ruffin's celebrated comeback and signature vacuum pose. Over 8 years, scorecards, call-out patterns, and social media metrics have shown that classic physique judging remains shaped by shifting standards and market forces, not just athlete performance. Yet as of September 2024, no complete Arnold Classic scorecards or judge notes have been made public, leaving crucial decisions opaque. The retirement of Chris Bumstead in October 2024 marked a turning point, with judging criteria pivoting towards symmetry and opening the field to new contenders. What remains undisputed is that the rules, and their application, continue to evolve behind closed doors. Until full transparency is achieved, athletes like Ruffin compete in a system where merit and politics are inseparable. The facts show the vacuum wars are far from over.